Sometimes I get stuck in a rut. I check out cool knife after cool knife after cool knife, and before you know it, without realizing it, I've only talked about expensive knives that not everyone can buy. But the good news is that I like knives in all price ranges, with all different levels of material, because what matters most is a quality of craftsmanship. And today I've got two knives that won't break the bank and are made very well. Let's go ahead and talk about the brand new Tenable Lucho and the Tenable Shard. Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in. And if you've been here before, smash the like button on the way in. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And today I've got two affordable killer knives from our friends over at Tenable. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed with what Tenable is doing. And for those who don't know, Tenable is the more affordable brand for concept knives. And you love to see it, right? Because if it works well as a premium knife, chances are it might also work well as a less expensive knife. And I say less expensive because these days, you know, with the cost of everything going up, you know, you can't buy eggs at the store without spending an arm and a leg. And so when it comes to our knives, to our hobby, that disposable income gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But the good news is that at the very least, there are companies that make knives that are affordable, but also really well designed and really well made. And we've got two examples of that today. And you might be noticing, Rolls, what's up with that big long box? What's going on over there, man? Is that one gigantic folding knife or what? Well, we're going to start off by talking about it. It's actually a fixed blade. And I don't typically talk about a whole lot of fixed blades on the channel, but EDC fixed blades have gained a ton of popularity in the knife and EDC community, especially within the last year and a half. So it goes without saying that having an affordable option from a company like Tenable is going to be very attractive to many people. Now, this one is called the Tenable Lucho, and it's designed by Bolt Vision. It says so right there on the blade. That's the maker's mark right there. Yeah, Bolt Vision. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Bolt Vision, but if you are, let me know about them in the comment section down below. If you know this maker, what are some of your favorite designs from them? Now, I like this for a number of different reasons, but before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the specs and, well, what does it cost? So right out of the gates, this knife is about 8¼ inches long, so it's going to be a full-size knife. 3.8 inches of that is going to be this beautifully done stone washed 14C28N blade. And this is definitely what I would consider to be a harpoon drop sheep's foot blade, which is to say, I don't really know what you would call this, but it's definitely a harpoon drop point. I'm pretty sure that that's what they have it listed at on their website. I'm a really big fan of a more polished stonewash finish. It pops right off the blade and it really will wear in nicely. We've got T8 hardware all the way around, and for a fixed blade, this is a full tang design. That means that the blade goes all the way through the handle scales, and that's going to give you a lot of extra durability, especially if you decide to jab this into something and, you know, do some not recommendable things with your fixed blade. But it also comes down to a very thin edge. Right here behind the edge, it gets very thin. And this one is not super heavy either. It comes in at about 3.8 ounces, and the handle scales are these milled G10 handle scales, and it's got this blue finish right here. Depending upon what you like, guys, they have different colorway options. So if you're not a big fan of this gray, they do have other options that you can check out as well. Ergonomics on here feel really good. They do a good job of contouring to your fingers and also to the palm of your hand. That feels nice. What about in a reverse grip? In a reverse grip, that feels really nice as well, you know, in case you need to, you know, get at it at the gas station. It's going to do quite well. When we're talking about fixed blades, it's always important to talk about the sheath. Now, I do believe that this is a Kydex sheath, but I could be wrong in that regard. The knife fits in there well, and it flares up right here. So you can, of course, use your thumb to eject it from the sheath, and it does pop out. So make sure, if you've got this off the belt that, you understand this is going to go flying. It uses these rivet systems, which is pretty common for fixed blades. And then it's got kind of a tech lock right here on the back. So it is going to be a vertical carry on the belt. It's not going to be a big deal. You could, of course, replace this clip with a clip of your choice, like an ulti clip if you want to pop this in your pocket, or my personal favorite, a set of pull the dot loops so that you could carry this in a scout or appendix carry. But none of that means anything if it doesn't cut well. So let's go ahead and see how she gets the job done. Here I've got a scrap piece of cardboard, and let's go ahead and give it a shot. Yep. Nice and thin behind the edge, very slicey. Beautiful clean cuts, and that is a very good factory edge from Tenable. No problems whatsoever. This is going to be a slicey, dicey kind of knife. And so, you know what? If you're going to be using this for everyday cutting tasks, you're not going to have any issues at all. But let's face it, this channel is not known for its fixed blades. I usually do folding knives, and I love a good budget folding knife. This is the Tenable Shard, and it is a Kim Ning design. If you don't know, Kim Ning is not just a knife designer with over 20 years of knife making experience. He's also the owner of Concept Knives, which is the parent company for Tenable. It's really cool to see the ownership, the top brass, get involved in designing knives for this brand, because Concept and Tenable have been leaning pretty heavily on their knife designer collaborations, which I'm a huge fan of. I love seeing actual knife designers put their name on knives, whether they're a $50 knife or a $500 knife. It's always good to have someone with experience behind the wheel, but Kim Ning is one of those people that really should get more props, because not only do they own the company, but they also do a fair amount of design work at the same time. They've done designs for Kaiser for about 6 or 7 years, and now they're bringing innovation and design to Concept, and that's great. This knife is the Shard, and the Shard is going to be coming in at $59. So what do you get for your hard-earned money? This is a nearly full-size knife coming in at 7.9 inches with about a 3.5-inch blade made of 14C28N. In fact, both of these knives are 14C, and you'll see a lot of 14C over there at Tenable, which is, quite frankly, a really good steal for the money. You get exceptionally high toughness and exceptionally high corrosion resistance, which means that you can bring the edge of the knife down to a seriously thin edge and get some great edge retention and cutting geometry at the same time. On this one specifically, we have these G10 handle scales, which have been expertly milled. It comes into this crosshatch pattern, which kind of creates a really nice texturing here. This is G10 on these handle scales, and it gives you a really good amount of grip. It might look like it's aggressive, and it is, but it's not actually going to create any discomfort in your hand. It's going to create a hell of a lot of grip and confidence in holding on to this knife. Now, they call this blade shape a reverse tanto, which I find ironic because it's actually a fictional blade shape. It was coined by Cold Steel back in the day, and then people turned out to like it, and so now you see a lot of companies saying this is a reverse tanto, when in actuality it's probably a bit closer to a really aggressive sheep's foot. That being said, it does feature a crossbar style lock, which is adjustable. If you look on the inside there, you might notice that you can actually adjust the tension of the omega springs to be lighter or stiffer. Something that makes a big difference in how light or stiff the D10 is that notch which the crossbar sits in. You want a nice steep angle for that crossbar to rest up against so that it has a bit of a cliff to overcome when it comes time to deploy it. So regardless of how stiff the springs are, if you don't have good geometry there, it won't have a good detent. But in this case, it does. Deployment happens via this thumb hole right here, and it's going to be great for your reverse flicks. It's going to be okay for the thumb flicks. It's really better for reverse flicks, which honestly is fine considering that that is generally the most popular way to deploy a knife. And let us not forget that you can, of course, just be super fidgety with it and use the crossbar lock at the same time. I personally love a nice pop of color on here, but if you don't, they do have other versions that don't have this bright blue blade. You just have to check them out to figure out which one is right for you. Something like this is going to be an exceptional knife when it comes to a first timer's knife, or a knife that's just going to be great for camping or gifting, or if you want a knife that you don't have to worry about dropping or losing, because it's going to be a solid cutting machine that's also not terribly expensive to replace. On the hardware, we have a T8 pivot and T6 body screws with T6 pocket clip. The pocket clip is reversible, thank the Lord. I don't know why companies come out with crossbar style knives without a reversible clip, because this specific lock makes it very attractive for the lefties. That's right, there's no bias on the lock left or right. It's going to work rather well in both, and being able to flip the clip to the other side is imperative to open the knife up to a whole market of customers. So other companies, if you're watching, do this. Make the clip reversible on your crossbar style locks, please. And if you agree with that sentiment, I want you to go ahead and smash the like button and let me know in the comment section down below. It is an open back design, and we do have some pocketed milling in there, which is going to bring the weight down to about 3.8 ounces. Yeah, that's nice. It makes it very well balanced. It's very easy to index, very easy to actuate. It's going to feel good in both a reverse grip and in a regular grip. There really isn't a choke up spot here, but we do in fact have a sharpening choil. And when you look at that sharpening choil, you'll notice that they brought it down to the exact point where if they went any farther, there'd be a smile on the edge, but they have it rather dialed in, and I like that. Now, that isn't to say that I love everything about this knife. I'm not a huge fan of the T6 body screws, and I do really wish that Tenable and Concept would get on board with the idea of a single-sided captive pivot, or at the very least a captive pivot, because that's something that makes takedown a whole lot easier. Now, it's not a huge deal for everyone, and it's not necessarily a huge deal for me, but it's one of those design things where I do see an opportunity to improve, and at some point, I hope that they bring that to market. That said, for $59, Tenable continues to bring the heat, and I think that this is going to be one that a lot of people enjoy. But I've done a whole lot of talking. Now it's your turn. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. What do you think of EDC fixed blades, specifically the Lucho? Is this a crazy harpoon drop point or what? And is the Tenable Shard one that you would consider putting in your pocket? Guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash the like button. If you haven't done so yet, please consider hitting the subscribe button that's about to pop up in the corner. But if you just want to watch some more awesome knife and EDC content, go ahead and click on one of the videos that pops up next.